Hey, que es la que hay, mi gente? It's Rocky here from SpeakSpanishFaster.com. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about reflexive verbs in Spanish. So I'm going to explain what reflexive verbs in Spanish are. I'm going to show you some examples of them. And I'm also going to show you them being used in like a story so that you can see how to use them in real context. All right, so let's get straight into it. All right, so first, when we talk about reflexive verbs in Spanish, we're talking about, for example, bañarse, levantarse, dormirse, sentarse, divertirse. So I'm sure you've seen many verbs like this in Spanish. They're pretty common, especially when we are talking about things that we are doing to ourselves, whether it's washing ourselves, brushing our teeth, combing our hair, anything involved with what you're doing to yourself, you're going to be, most likely, you're going to be using a reflexive verb in Spanish. And sometimes the reflexive verb is different than the regular verb. For example, for the verb dormir, that means sleep, to sleep. But when you add dormirse, that means to fall asleep. So when you want to say, I fall asleep, you would say, me duermo. And that means I fall asleep. You don't just say duermo. If you say duermo, you're just saying I sleep. If you say me duermo, that means I fall asleep. So that's just an example of how a reflexive verb can be different than just the regular verb in itself. But then there are a lot of examples of where the reflexive verb is literally just talking about itself. So for example, me baño is I bathe myself, okay? So that's usually what the pronoun here is going to mean. So we have me, te, se, nos, os, se. Now, os, you won't hear that often unless you are in Spain or you are learning Spanish or Spanish from Spain. In Latin America, we don't use vosotros form. And a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, they do. They use vos, but vos is not vosotros. And I've done a video actually on vos, which is used in places like Argentina, Colombia. Some of those places might use vos. And that's another form of tú. So I've done a video on that. So definitely check out that video if you would like to learn more about vos. But you will not hear vosotros, which is the plural you form. You're not going to hear that in Latin America unless maybe there's one country that may use it. I'm not sure. I would be surprised. But especially in Caribbean Spanish, you're definitely not going to hear it there. And then we have se. All right. So myself, yourself, himself, herself, yourself, formal, themselves, yourselves, formal, ourselves. You know, it's pretty straightforward here. And now let me show you the formation of reflex verbs. So here we have the verb despertar. Okay. So that means to wake up. All right, so despertarse, I should say, we're using the verb despertarse, to wake oneself up. So, me despierto, te despiertas, se despierta, nos despertamos, os despertáis, se despiertan. So all this is I wake up, you wake up, he, she, or you formal, usted, wakes up, we wake up, you all wake up, they wake up, or you all wake up in the formal, or in Latin America, we just use the ustedes form for the you all. So se despiertan is how we would say they wake up and also you all wake up. So if you're with your friend and you guys wake up, I would say se despiertan in Latin America. But in Spain, then if I was in Spain, I would say os despertáis. So there's a little difference there. And that's why I say if you're in Latin America, don't even worry about os or vosotros because you're not really going to use it or hear it at all. So let's look at another example. So I sit myself, to sit oneself. Sentarse is the verb here. Me siento, te sientas, se sienta, nos sentamos, os sentáis, se sientan. All right, same exact flow as we did in the last example. Me siento, I sit, te sientas, you sit, se sienta, he, she, usted sits. Nos sentamos, we sit, os sentáis, you all sit, only used in Spain. Se sientan, you all sit, used in Latin America, and also they sit. Now I want to show you an example of how you would add a noun after this verb. So for example, in this slide here, we're talking about a guy who's saying, I shave myself or I shave my face, me afeito la cara. Now, the one key thing to remember here is that in Spanish, we don't say, me afeito mi cara. If you're using a reflexive verb, you're not going to use me because the me is kind of saying that you're doing it to yourself. So you're saying me afeito la cara. Me lavo las manos. Okay, it's not me afeito mi cara, me afeito or me lavo mis manos. It's me lavo las manos, me afeito la cara. So in this example, same thing. You will see each of the examples I show you from each subject. Me, te, se, nos, os, se. And those are conjugated perfectly with how they would be conjugated in the yo, tú, in that form. So me afeito, te afeitas, se afeita, nos afeitamos, nos afeitáis, se afeitan la cara. All right? So remember that. It's not mi cara here. It's la cara. So another thing to remember about reflexive verbs is that they can also change tense. Okay, so I've been using the present tense for all the previous examples, but the same way you say, I woke up, is you would use that same form of the reflexive verb for saying, I woke up. Okay, I washed my face. So if we say, I washed my face, or I wash my face, me lavo la cara. I washed my face, me lavé la cara. So everything stays the same except the verb gets turned into preterite. It could be turned into imperfect. It could be turned into future tense. So, but the reflexive me, te, se, nos, os, se, that's not going to change. There's not like a past tense to say me. It's just me, okay? So for example, going back, remember in the first example where we did me despierto, te despiertas. Now that was the present tense. Now we're looking at the past preterite tense here. Me desperté, I woke up. Te despertaste, se despertó, nos despertamos, os despertastes, se despertaron. So notice here, the me, te, se, all that stays the same. Now another thing I want to cover really quick is reflexive pronouns before or after the infinitive. So when you are using the infinitive with the pronoun, it can come before or after. So for example, you can say, me voy a despertar, I am going to wake up, or you can say, voy a despertarme. Really, it's all about preference for you. Whichever, honestly, personally, I use both. I really just don't even think about it. Sometimes I'll use one, sometimes I'll use the other. So you can say, te vas a despertar, or vas a despertarte. Se va a despertar, va a despertarse. So just remember here, it's all about preference. I will say one thing is, for the vosotros form, I'm not really that familiar. I don't use vosotros. So I do know, just because I've studied Spanish for years, that you could say os vais a despertar or vais a despertaros. I'm not sure. I've never really heard that. So maybe if somebody's from Spain, you're watching this video and you can comment. Would people ever use os at the end? I assume you could because it would follow the rules of everything else. But would it be more common for people to say, os vais a despertar? Again, I'm not sure, porque yo no uso vosotros. But now what I want you to do is pay attention. I am going to play an audio and show you the text of a story. Not really a story, but just a little fragment or passage of Spanish where we're going to be using reflexive verbs and pronouns in real context so that you can see how they would be used within a sentence.
Cada mañana, me despierto temprano a las 6 en punto. Primero, me levanto de la cama y estiro los brazos. Luego, me dirijo al baño para lavarme la cara y cepillarme los dientes. Siempre me gusta tomarme mi tiempo para hacerlo bien, así que me lavo la cara con agua tibia y jabón suave. Después de cepillarme los dientes, me peino el cabello y me pongo un poco de crema hidratante en la cara. Después de arreglarme un poco, voy a la cocina para preparar el desayuno. Me gusta comer algo saludable por la mañana, así que suelo hacer un batido con frutas y verduras frescas. Primero, me lavo las manos y luego empiezo a preparar los ingredientes. Me corto algunas frutas y verduras en pedazos y las meto en la licuadora con un poco de leche y hielo. Después de mezclarlo todo bien, me sirvo un vaso grande y lo disfruto mientras leo las noticias en mi teléfono. Después de desayunar, me visto y me preparo para salir. Siempre me gusta vestirme bien, así que me tomo mi tiempo para elegir la ropa adecuada. Me dirijo al armario y me pongo un par de pantalones vaqueros y una camiseta cómoda. Luego, me pongo un par de zapatos cómodos y me dirijo a la puerta para salir. Antes de salir, me aseguro de tener todo lo que necesito para el día. Me miro en el espejo y me doy cuenta de que me he dejado la chaqueta en la habitación, así que regreso a buscarla. Me la pongo y salgo de la casa. En resumen, mi rutina matutina es bastante simple pero me ayuda a empezar el día con energía y entusiasmo. Me gusta tomarme mi tiempo para arreglarme y prepararme para el día, y utilizar verbos reflexivos me ayuda a expresar mejor lo que hago y cómo lo hago. Espero que esta historia te haya sido útil para ver cómo se usan los verbos reflexivos en acción.
So I hope you found today's lesson on reflexive verbs helpful if you are looking to take your Spanish to the next level so that you can actually speak and comprehend when being spoken to. Definitely check out my 3 secrets to learn Spanish faster. I'll put a link to that page down below in the comments. I'll pin it there. Just go there, click that, and that'll take you directly to the guide where I show you my 3 biggest secrets to learn Spanish faster. These are basically like the 3 most important things that I would do if I had to learn Spanish from scratch. If I was starting from zero again, this is where I would start, and these are the 3 things I would do. Now keep in mind, these 3 tips will work no matter what level you are at, whether you're a beginner or whether you've been studying Spanish for a while, you're not confident, or whether you're advanced and you're looking to take your Spanish even to the next level, to fluency. That's the great thing about these principles. They can help anybody, no matter what level you are currently at. If you found today's video helpful, definitely hit the thumbs up for me. Comment below. Let me know what else you need help with. Last but not least, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel. We've been growing really quickly over the past few weeks, and I'm super happy, and I'm just blessed to have all of you guys here watching me, showing me love and support. Hasta la próxima vez. Hablamos.